been running for, what is it, 5, 6 years now?
5 years and some amount of months, yes. I realized that it'll be, well, I guess it's still far off, but 2,000 days in November. So that's my next big milestone that I'm excited for.
And you made a goal after your dad passed away. It was kind of how you, before, when he was, I can't remember. Your dad got sick quickly.
It was
pretty,
he just fell asleep in his,
okay.
fell asleep in his death. You know what I mean?
It was very, yeah, it was very sudden.
It was unexpected, yeah.
Yeah.
But the run streak was already started, and I just continued it. But part of why I run is because he never could. And so that's part of my motivation, is because I know that I can, and I know what it looks like and how frustrating it is to people who can't. And so I'm going to enjoy the gift that God has given me and take advantage of it. So it was kind of, when he died, motivation, like, I'm not going to give up this because this is meaningful to me. So.
Yeah. Well, and your dad, he was always a really hard worker for your family, and he had a tragic accident pretty early on. So that was why he couldn't run, right? He always had a difficulty walking after that. And I know, I mean, I remember seeing your posts a lot, you know, and that running really helped you to deal with grief as well. But I mean, the time that you have run, and I mean, a lot of times I've thought this chick is nuts, because you've run when you've had the flu and you've never let anything hold you down. You've never taken a day off in 5 years. You always run at least a mile at the absolute minimum.
Yes. 1 mile to 26. 26.2 was the maximum, my marathon. So anywhere in between there, and I don't miss. Sometimes I have a plan, but otherwise it's just, I know I have to get out there at least a mile, and so I just make it happen. And Jacob asked me the other day, he was like, why do you run, and going through that, and I was trying to explain, like, it really helps me to, like, feel better and, you know, just be a better mom because I'm not stressed and all those things. And he's like, can you not run for a day so that I can see what you're like? I'm like, no, son, I'm not giving up 5 years of running every day just so you can have one day to see crazy mom. Trust me, you don't want her.
That's awesome. How do you, I mean, the flu can really suck. How do you, I mean, that takes some serious mindset on what you tell yourself to not say. Because I would tell myself, like, you have the flu, you need to rest, that's bad for your body, or, you know, whatever excuse you would give yourself in that, to not push through and persevere. And I mean, you've run even when you had plantar fasciitis. Like, you might have not run as many miles, but you still ran through all of those times of pain. Like, what do you think is, or have you always, I know you do daily affirmations now, have you always done daily affirmations to help you with your running, or what helped you have that mindset? It was just, I'm going to run for everybody else, and this is the commitment I've made to myself, and I'm just going to continue to do it.
It is a slow build. So I would say at first I would not, like, when I first started it, it was like, oh, this looks like a fun thing. I could probably make it like 2 weeks. It was supposed to be, it was like a group thing Runner's World was putting on. It was supposed to be Memorial Day to 4th of July, 41 days. And I was like, I don't know if I can do 41 days, but I can do 2 weeks, and that would be really meaningful for me. So I just was like, sure, I'll try that. And then as I got into it, I was like, this is actually really enjoyable. I feel good. Like, it's so cool to be able to say I run every day.
Yeah.
And so it just gradually grew and grew until now it's, 5 years later, and it doesn't even feel like 5 years. And so I would say it's not like, it was not intentional that I was going to run forever at all in the beginning. And it was just, as I grew and as I developed that self-discipline to keep doing it, I grew the, I guess, the motivation and the strength to say, I'm going to show up for myself, whether I feel like it or not. And there's a lot of days I've had a broken toe and strep throat twice in a blizzard. That was terrible. I would say that would be the worst, was in January. I had strep throat, and it was like, can't see, kind of snowing. And I only run outside. At that point, I didn't have a treadmill. And I was just like, oh, the only thing I did was lay in bed and sleep and go for my run. Like I looped around the mile. It was slow. It was a slow run and it was painful and miserable. And then I just came back home and climbed into bed and went to sleep. So, and that's the
Wow.
thing is it's at the slowest, like 13 minutes out of my day.
Yeah.
Like you can do anything for 13 minutes. Like it is really not going to kill you. And that's what I always tell myself on those really hard days of, I don't think I can do this. I don't have the time or I don't feel like it or whatever. Like it's 13 minutes and and then I'm done and I can move on with my life or take a nap or whatever I need to do. So I think that's that mindset of just telling myself it's not, and usually it's faster than 13 minutes. That's just when you're sick and everything else. So.
Well, that's interesting because that's kind of the same mindset that you use. So I was telling people you have 2 kids and your husband just recently started his own business. And so you are helping him manage that business, manage the social media part, and helping him get started with all of the business savvy side of things, on top of the fact that you still work a full-time job. And then somehow you still have time not only for grocery shopping, managing your house, educating your children now that you had to do last season and now have to do this season. And then still making the time to run. And I know when you decided that you wanted to go back to school and get your master's, you kind of said the same thing to yourself. Now, obviously, that was before all of the crazy broke loose, but you still have not quit, which, I mean, is huge because I think a lot of people would have quit with everything that's going on. But I remember you saying it's only, what, 24 months or whatever it was in the beginning
15.
when you,
Yeah.
yeah, you're like, I can do anything for that long. We'll figure it out. We'll make it through. Just focus on getting through this time. So it's kind of like the mindset that you use for running and for any hardship that you may be experiencing in life, is telling yourself, simplifying it down to a shorter time frame.
Yeah, that's yeah, I never really like thought that is, but that's a lot of how I use for so many things. Like with everything going on with the virus and school and all of that, I just keep telling myself like, we're gonna get through this. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be. I've known from the beginning this is not gonna be as short as some of the people were saying, but there's gonna be an end, and we're gonna make it through, and we're gonna talk about it and and laugh and all of those things. And so just having that hope that we'll get to the other side is just so helpful for me to always keep in mind.
That's encouraging. Yeah, because I think some people don't feel like we're ever going to get through this. So I think that is a good thing to say to yourself and remind yourself, that we're going to get through this, and that positive self-talk. Now I know you do daily affirmations. Do you do those in the morning, or do you just kind of do those? Like some people, will write them up and they'll put them in all of the places that they look at throughout the day, and just say them out loud. Like, how do you practice those affirmations? Because I mean, we've already kind of talked about 2 that you say to yourself probably quite often and reminding yourself when things get hard.
Yeah. I kind of take a couple approaches depending on what it is. So every morning, like the first thing I do is grab my bullet journal, and the first page is kind of my lists and my goals and intentions for the quarter. And that's also where I put some affirmations and things like that. And so that's the first thing that I see. Like I sit down and I open that up, and that's the first thing I review. So I have in my mind, like, this is the person that I am. These are the goals that I set. This is what's important to me. And so starting my day with that is really important. But a lot of the, it only takes 15 minutes and those kinds of things, those are just thoughts that I've trained my mind to think. And so when you start hearing yourself say the negative thoughts that are going to come through, you have to come up with a positive thought to replace that. And then just say that and intentionally say that. And your mind's going to automatically think of whatever negative thought you want to do, because that's just always what it's done, and there's a strong connection there. And so you have to retrain your brain. And so just continuing, every time I hear that, then I think my positive affirmation or whatever, the thought that I want my brain to actually learn. And then over time it grows stronger. So that's the automatic thought.
And so just trying to retrain it, because I mean, I know when I took that course that I was telling you about, that was one of the things that like whether you're thinking those things, but also saying them out loud, because our brains hear our words and they start to believe what we say. So if we're being mean to ourselves or saying negative things like this e-learning sucks and it's always going to be horrible, and that's what you say, then that's what your brain hears, that's what you're believing, and that's just how it's always going to be. But if we somehow try to find a positive spin on it and be able to repeat that, because then we're not only providing a positive environment for ourselves, but we're also providing a positive environment for our kids as they're going through that as well, because we're the example to them. I like that. And so you said that you get up and do a bullet journal, which is interesting because when I had Leslie talk with me last night, that's also what she does, is she uses a bullet journal and gets up in the morning. I'm seeing a pattern. So how do you manage your time? Especially, I mean, I know your son gets up like earlier than anybody, but I know he kind of likes to do his own thing, so he may not necessarily be a distraction to you in having that time. But what is your schedule like so that you have enough time to fit everything into your day?
Um, Everything is scheduled at this point. I used to just like live off my to-do list in my bullet journal, and now it's gotten to the point where everything is scheduled. So I fill everything out in my bullet journal and then put it on my Google Calendar so that I know like there's a plan for the day. Jake wakes up early, not as much lately because we have no bedtime because we're feral children with COVID.
My kids are still awake right now. I understand.
Yeah, next week when school starts, it'll be different. But,
Right.
But yeah, so he wakes up and like from, I don't know, at some point in his lifetime, he's always been an early riser and I'm always an early riser. So he's always known like he can come and get a hug and a, couple minute snuggle and then go do your thing. Like you can watch TV. I do not care. Like just, this is my time. And so I've made that very clear boundary from the beginning that not to be mean or anything to him because he still gets the attention and whatever, but this is my time, and it's very, very protected. And most of the time lately, I wake up at 5:30. Some days, depending on when I have meetings and things going on, it's as early as 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh. That is early.
That is very early. So it does vary a little bit, but I try to keep it consistent. So 5:30 is definitely where I try to be right now. And it's just everything is scheduled, but I think the most important thing for me is that the first things to schedule and the most important things are the things that are filling me up and all those self-care. So I wake up that early so that I can have a morning routine. And I journal and I pray and I read the Bible and I read nonfiction and all the things that like really fill me up.
You do all of that every morning. Wow.
Every morning. And then running is also a non-negotiable. I try to do that in the morning, but a lot of times that gets to be the middle of the day, which is miserable when it's 90 degrees, but
yeah,
still got to get it done. So.
Yeah, because you'll go do that on your lunch or like right after you get off work or whatever, like you fit it in.
Yeah, whenever I can fit that in, I fit it in. But it's just one of those things that it's just non-negotiable. I just have to do it. And my husband's always been like super, super supportive of it. So he'll see me when he comes home. And if I don't look like I've showered, he's like, did you run today? And then he knows if I haven't, then he's got to like finish dinner or
do
watch
something.
The kids or whatever.
Yeah. Well, so that's nice. So having a supportive partner so that you can have that time too is a good thing. So how long do you give yourself for that time in the morning?
So if I tell you, it makes everybody feel guilty.
Well, I mean, I think it's nice to know because everybody's cup is different, so if you have learned what works for you and and you're willing to get up at 4 a.m. or whatever time you have to make yourself a priority, I mean, I think that's good. And I think that's also the other thing with mindset is believing that you're worthy of that, because I think so many people are very unkind to themselves. And, anytime that you start researching anything with mindset or people talk about mindset and things like that, you always hear that, people are the meanest to themselves than anybody else. We say the worst things to ourselves that we would never allow anybody else to say anything like that to us, but we say those things. And so then we think that we're unworthy, or we think we're that or this or whatever. We're just always putting ourselves down, whether it's for not being good with time management, or not getting our house clean, or how we look, or any of those things. So the fact that you are telling yourself on a daily basis, I am important enough that these things are important to me, and I'm going to treat myself with value. I think that's really good, because that's also setting you have a daughter as well, and that's setting a really good example for her and who she's going to grow up to be, and making time for herself, because moms always put ourselves last. We don't make ourselves the priority. And whoever we're bringing up is seeing that. And even for your son, he's also seeing that. And if he's saying, okay, my dad gave my mom that time, I need to give my wife that time. It's creating a whole different generational pattern of telling people that they're valuable and that they're worthy. So I think it's okay however much time you spend, because that just means that you know your worth, and that's good.
Yeah. So I ideally, not every day, but I like to give myself an hour and a half every morning to do all the reading and Bible study and journaling and all that. That sometimes I don't have that time, and I have to, shorten it to half an hour or something like that. But it's really, really important to me, and it's so, it makes me feel so good, to start my day quiet and to do all those things. But when I say, the reason that I feel like it makes me nervous to say it is because if you don't have those things in place, and if you are starting from scratch and overwhelmed, and you don't schedule your day and all of that, then that can sound intimidating. How in the world are you going to find an hour and a half for yourself? And so it's been a very long and gradual process. I didn't start this yesterday. I've been doing it for years and years, and just making it longer and longer and more developed. And I had to teach myself to honor the commitments that I make to myself. And that's kind of going along the lines of what you said, is when I said I would meet you here at 9 o'clock to do this, I care about you. I'm going to show up because I said I would meet you here. But so often we'll tell ourselves, tomorrow I'm going to work out. And then tomorrow comes and I don't want to, so I'm not going to. And we never honor the commitments that we make to ourselves, but we'll do it for everybody else.
Yeah.
And we put everybody else's first. And so I've had to train myself that I am valuable and I am worthy of this time. And so I'm going to make it so that if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, whether it's, whether somebody else is relying on me to do it or not. It's important to me. So
how did you train yourself to do that, and to have that respect for commitment? Because that's definitely something I struggle with, especially like you say, working out. I am not working out every day right now, and I need to. So how did you start to implement that for yourself outside of the goals that you made with running, just in making yourself a commitment, making yourself a priority?
You have to start small. If you tomorrow say, oh, I'm going to make a to-do list and put it on a schedule and follow it, you're not going to follow it. Life's going to happen, and then you're going to feel like a failure because the whole day was derailed. But if you just say, tomorrow I'm going to go on a 3-mile walk, and you say, I'm scheduling it in for 3 o'clock, and then you show up and you do it. Or if, your kids get crazy and whatever happens and you can't do it at 3, you shift it and you do it at 6 instead, or whatever, still make sure it happens. But there's going to be, and just kind of repeat that over and over, just with that one small commitment that you make to yourself. But then there's going to be things that happen that are going to derail that. Your husband's not going to be home from work to take care of the kids, or whatever happens, life happens. And so don't beat yourself up, but know that tomorrow's a new day and you can try again, and just keep doing that until you are strong in that commitment, and then expand that to, okay, now I'm going to do 2 things. And that's how I've done everything that I do. I do a lot, but I didn't overnight do a lot. I've, slowly and gradually built up to everything that I do.
So you started, for people that are watching, you would say, okay, yes, I spend an hour and a half, and I've learned all of these things. And yes, I say all these different affirmations and things like that to myself. And yes, I've gotten to this point where I see myself as valuable and I see myself worthy. But wherever you're starting, don't make this grand plan because you're not going to stick to it, and you want to do something that's going to be small enough, like your first goal was with running, where it was, okay, I can do this for 41 days, or I can do 13 minutes a day of running. I can do this one little thing. I can do anything for 13 minutes. Is starting with that small thing and committing to yourself. And once you've established that habit, then it's like, okay, what else can I expand to then add to this to start to build these positive life goals for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to
I like
gradually
that.
work up to it.
That's I think where I have failed a lot in the past, is because I'll go out, I'll get this big nice planner, and I'm like, okay, let's do this bullet journal, let's do this, and all the colored pencils and all those things. Not that those aren't good, but you'll make this huge big plan, and then you'll be consistent with it for like 2 or 3 days, and then life happens and you don't do it for a couple of days, and then you fall out of that cycle, and you're like, okay, well, now I suck because I didn't keep up with it, and now here's another 10th planner or journal to put on the stack of half empty ones that I never completed.
Yes.
So I think that's really good. I am definitely going to write that down for myself, that you can do anything for this period of time, that telling yourself that and reminding yourself about that often, and making those small little changes that you can build. I think that's really good for everybody right now, because there's a lot of working moms that have kids at home and are working too, and don't know how they're going to fit it all in. What would you, so you have your hour and a half in the morning that you do things, and then you go to work and you work a full work schedule, and then whether it be on your lunch or your breaks or however you manage that when you had your kids in e-learning last semester, how did you balance all of that? And then with dinner, how did you figure out dinner, your meal plan, grocery shopping, still cleaning your house, and then still having time for working out? I know that you started to train your family, especially when you started school, because a lot of things you used to do for yourself, not for yourself, but you would do yourself. And so you've had to kind of retrain your family and become more of a delegator. So tell me how you do that, because it sounds like you're a master in that area.
Yeah. So I've always worked from home, so I do have that advantage. And so I just got in the habit of, I can throw in a load of laundry and keep that going, and I can do dishes and all of those things as, on breaks for work and that kind of thing. But now I spend my breaks from work taking care of the kids. Like, they're interrupting me 100 times a day and all of that. So I needed more time to focus on work and less time focusing on all the household chores. And so I just made my kids do those things. So they know that every day, we've fallen out of practice a little in the summer because, like I said, they're feral. But they, especially in the school year, it's really important that they empty the dishwasher. So one empties the top, one empties the bottom every day. And then I'll fill it because I don't like how anybody else fills it. But that's easy. And then on Monday, I sort all the laundry, like in the different colors or whatever. And then the kids are in charge of throwing it in the washer, throwing it in the dryer. And then we have a process of, it gets sorted, so everybody has a basket, and the kids will bring it upstairs, and they sort it into everybody's basket and put their own away. And so then I come upstairs, and I only have to put my clothes away. So they just know those are their responsibilities to do every day, and that little bit has made my life so much easier.
Well, you're teaching them valuable skills, that they'll use later in life as well. So that's really good.
Yeah. And then we always had a house cleaner. Since my son was born, I paid my friend to come clean my house because I ain't got time. And clearly I don't have time. But when my husband got laid off, I had to figure out, we were financially. Actually, it started because of the shutdown. I was like, it's not really safe when we're in quarantine. We shouldn't have people come clean. So everybody... I think a lot of people that had house cleaners at that point were like, okay, I guess I got to clean my house.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not cleaning our house all by myself. I ain't got time for all that. So we made it fun. And everybody gets chores, or everybody gets, I write all the different tasks. So vacuum the bedroom, vacuum the kitchen, all of those things on Post-it notes and put them out somewhere. and then everybody gets to pick until they're all gone. So we start with my son, and then my daughter, and then my husband. And so everybody picks a Post-it note until all the Post-it notes are gone, and those are your tasks. So you get to pick what you do, but it's even because there's always, I think, like 20 or 24 of them, so everybody gets 5 or 6. So that way nobody can say, oh, it's not fair, and everybody's involved, and we turn on music really loud, and so everybody does it together. And so not having to clean my house by myself is really important.
I think that's super fun that
Yeah.
you guys turn on the music and you make it fun, because sometimes cleaning can be very overwhelming, and having a way to make it a family activity, I think, is good. When you do the Post-it notes, does everybody pick in the very beginning, or is it like, okay, I picked vacuum, so I take that Post-it note down, I'm going to go vacuum, and then once I vacuum, I come back and I get another Post-it note from what's left?
It's all at the beginning. So before we
Okay.
get started, everybody picks their stuff, and you know what you can do. Um, and you can kind of cheat the system. My son loves to mop. I keep saying their instead of their names. I don't know why. Because there's other people watching. You know who my son is.
Yeah.
Anyways, he loves to mop. Which, just to mention, he's 7, almost 8. They're not going to do it as good as I do.
Right. It's not going
None
to be
of them
perfect.
do.
Yeah.
But like, it's done. It's
Right.
good enough for life for me to not do it. So anyways, he loves to mop, but you can't mop until everybody's vacuumed. And so last time, like, he picked all mop, and so he just sat around, and then he was the last one done because everybody else was done and partying, and he had to wait the entire time so that everything would be ready. So you can kind of cheat the system. Mark will pick everything that he can do right away and get done really quick. And so, but I mean, you get to pick. Everybody gets to pick, and he's the youngest. Who's my son? Jacob. Jacob gets to pick first, so he gets to do what he wants to do, and then he can't complain because you chose it. So
I like that. It gives them some control and therefore some responsibility with that. And I love that you guys, turn on the music and do it like that. How many times a week do you guys do that?
we do it 2 times a month, the same time that the that's how often our cleaning lady comes. So
Okay.
like every day we do, like, everybody's responsible for picking up their like general clutter and that kind of thing, and then we do dishes and laundry and all that stuff. But like the real deep, like, everything gets vacuumed and mopped and scrubbed and all that stuff is just twice a month.
Yeah. I used to have a friend who she did something similar where, like, every night after they would get done eating dinner and after homework and stuff was done, they would do like their daily cleaning. They would turn on the music just like how you guys do, and it would be like, okay, let's pick up all the toys, pick up any trash, any clothes that are laying around or whatever, sweep real quick, and then like, it's not a mom having to come back down and have 2 or 3 hours worth of work after she's gotten the kids to bed. She actually gets a little bit of time to chill and relax because she involved the whole family in that process. So I think that's great. I think that's really good. So, and it also sounds like last night when I talked to my friend Leslie, she was a veteran homeschooler. So you are doing e-learning through a public school. And one of the things that you guys both have similar is that you both make your me time a priority, and that you set boundaries with your children, and that it doesn't mean that you're neglecting your children or that you don't love them, but you have set it with your kids and said, this is my time. Don't bother me. Like, I need this. You are not allowed to talk to me during this time. I need to recharge my battery. And I think that that's good. I think people need to know that that's okay, to be able to take that time for themselves, and also that our spouses can also have that me time, that we both deserve that, and being able to balance that together so that everybody gets that refresher. So what would you say if somebody doesn't know anything about mindset or daily affirmations? What would you say is like a good way to start that, and would be a couple good examples?
I could talk about these things for hours. So I'm trying to decide which of the directions that I should say. I would say if your goal is to just, you have to train your mind to focus on positive, to focus on the positive things, because our mind will automatically go to the negative, which can be helpful. You know, if the lion's chasing you and you see a really lovely looking berry tree over here, like, I don't want to focus on the positive berry tree. I want to focus on the lion
you
and get
gotta
the heck out of Dodge. So that's helpful. But in situations like this, you're not, if you're feeling that anxiety and that worry and that fear and all of those emotions over something that you can't control, you can't get the heck out of Dodge in this. You have to just embrace it and move on and figure out a plan. And so figuring out how to train your mind to focus on the positive, and you have to actually sit and take time to identify what is good. So a gratitude journal is a really helpful start, just every day. And that's one of the things I do in my bullet journal is every day I write down 3 things that I'm thankful for, either for the morning or the day before. And knowing that you're going to have to the next morning come up with 3 things that you're thankful for, it helps you to focus on that throughout the day and to notice those positive things that are happening. But in this particular situation of virtual learning and all the complications that we have, you either have to find the good in the situation or make it good. Figure out how you can make it good or fun, or include something in the way that you do things with your kids so that it's enjoyable, that there's a reward that they're looking for, or something like that, so that you have those positive experiences for everybody. Like, one of the things that we do is morning meeting, and it started because my kids would have a Zoom meeting at the same time as me, and I couldn't figure out, here's your Zoom link, and you got to be able to get on by yourself, and just the logistics of trying to manage me working full time and then going to school. I just needed a time in the morning for us to say, okay, you have this, you have that, and all of that. But it has also become, we do a read aloud of a devotional. We usually have some kind of funny would you rather joke thing going on. I usually ask them some kind of mindset related question. So what are you thankful for today? Or what's something good that happened yesterday? Or something to help to gear their mind to notice the positive too. And then prayer. And then we always have snuggle time. And I start it with music. And so just what can you do to what can you implement in your routine or your system with the kids so that it can be enjoyable and fun, so that there's at least something that you're looking forward to. So focusing on that. And then as far as affirmations, one of the things I wanted to mention is you have to make sure that what your affirmation is believable. You can go to a website and, there's hundreds out there of the 100 affirmations that you'll need, and so many of them are not believable, and your brain's not stupid. And so you sometimes have to step yourself to the belief that you want to believe. So, if you're always thinking, I'm a lazy fat slob, and you're going to go and stand in the mirror and say, I'm in pristine health, when actually, your knees hurt and you feel miserable every day. Your brain's not stupid. It's not going to believe that no matter how many times you say it. And so you have to make sure that what you're saying is believable. So just make sure that the affirmations and the positive things that you're saying and thinking about it are something that's realistic to your situation. So.
Yeah, one of the ones I use for me, it doesn't have anything to do with e-learning or anything like that, is I think for me, for the longest time, I have, had a weight issue for the last 10 years, and I think a lot of people that have issues with weight, they talk really mean to themselves, and they say things like, you're never going to be skinny, or you're always going to be fat, or whatever, and I changed my daily affirmation that I say to myself is that I'm a weight losing machine. And and I really like that one, because I don't know, I do believe that one. Even if I'm not working out every day, and I don't say it every day to myself, otherwise I would probably have lost more weight than I've lost right now if I was actually saying that, because I would feel, every time that I say it, I feel powerful. I feel powerful from that. So I think you're right. You can't say I'm a millionaire. I mean, I don't know, maybe you can, but you have to believe, what is the potential that I could ever actually be a millionaire, or something like that, if you're thinking, if you're a dreamer.
And that's the thing, a lot of like yours, it's kind of action oriented. And so if you know you're progressing toward a goal, then make
Yeah.
it something that's an action oriented affirmation. And so with e-learning, it can be something like, we're getting better at this, or, you know, just something simple that, you know, and that's the other thing is just having that mindset of we're all new at this and everybody's going to make mistakes. That doesn't make you a failure.
Yeah.
Just because you're, you know, struggling with this. We're all going to struggle. Nobody's ever done this before. And you have the potential to get better just because you stick with it and you keep trying and keep putting the work and the effort in. And so reminding yourself that you can keep working and trying, and it's going to get easier and it's going to get better.
I think that's a great one to say for people that are just starting e-learning, because I know there's a couple of moms that I talked to today, and this was, you know, their first week of doing that, you know, when their kid had to sit for a very long time in front of a laptop or, you know, whatever, and it was like wanted to pull their hair out, you know. And so even just being able to say that every day we do this, we are going to get better. Every day is going to be better than yesterday, you know, like as far as improvements. Like I think that's a really nice one that's encouraging. And I think your other one, as a reminder of everything that we're going through, that there is hope, that we are going to get to the other side of this, you know, I think is another one. What would your advice be to moms right now, you know, especially those that are working, you know, whether they chose to homeschool this year or they're doing e-learning, they usually have more on their plate than maybe a mom who's a little bit more used to staying home and finding that, you know, work-life balance. What would you say to them if there was one small thing that they could change in their day with their new lifestyle that would be helpful? It's kind of a loaded question.
One small thing. Do you know how wordy I am?
Or two things. I don't know. Whatever you think. Like, just freestyle it.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that's so helpful for so many people is to give yourself some grace. Like, don't beat yourself up. This is going to be hard, and that's okay. So just keeping that mindset that it's okay if you mess up and just keep going. So like we just said, but I just think that's so important. But building the routines and the systems. If you have no routines and systems right now, you need to create them for yourself and your kids as soon as possible, because that is like the thing that will save your life is having routines and systems so that everybody knows what's expected and where we're going and what we're doing. And it just helps kids so much when things are different, to have as quick as possible a routine to rely on. Adults too, but it's really important for kids.
Structure is really important. I think you are absolutely right. So just to kind of reiterate what we have reviewed, because, okay, so you're super busy, you have a lot on your plate. And so the way that you have managed your schedule is for cleaning, you have delegated that responsibility to your whole family, and you guys have learned to work together as a team, which I think is really great. And you found a way to make it fun. And then the things that are not that important, such as grocery shopping, you have delegated that to somebody else to bring it to your house so that you do not have to spend time doing that. Here's the thing that I find overwhelming about the idea of that. I am somebody who is very controlled with, very picky about what I choose. And so I spend a lot of time grocery shopping. I go to 4 or 5 different stores every 2 weeks. I know. But that's also because, like, to me, if I was going to get groceries delivered, I'm not prepared with everything I would have to add to my list. Like, I might have like a basic, like I've started like a meal plan. So like I've got it down to like the 7 days a week. Okay, like on Monday we do a salad bar. On Tuesday we do some form of tacos or Mexican or whatever, you know. So like I've picked themes for each week to break down so it's easier for me to then pick a meal from each theme. So it narrows it down, because otherwise I'll just get overwhelmed with what I'm even planning, and then we won't plan anything, and then we'll go get Taco Bell. And those are all of my old habits that I'm trying to get away from, but I sometimes fall back into them because I get overwhelmed with my poor time management schedule. So then the idea of the grocery shopping, if you're getting groceries for a whole week, and usually for a grocery delivery you are going to pay a little bit more for your groceries, and then you're tipping, you know, somebody and everything like that. So I wouldn't want to do it and only get, you know, $40 worth of groceries or something, and then you still have to go to the store yourself. So how do you figure out exactly what you need? They have everything for a meal, and that alone doesn't take you 2 to 3 hours to add everything to the list for somebody to go shop it for you.
So I have a couple things. I have a list of like meal ideas that I refer to, so I don't have to like think from scratch. And then I also make that a like family thing. So I write down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, and then I go, okay, Jacob, what are your preferences? And his are usually just chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. But so then everybody has some input, at least on one of the meals that are horrible. But and then so we each pick, you know, a couple meals a week, and we have a plan. And then for my grocery list, I'll write out all the ingredients. I know most of them, or I'll look them up for what we need for all of those meals. And then I have what I call a master grocery list that I made a long time ago, and it's all the like stuff that we usually buy, and I just look through it. It's just a Word document, and I just look through like, yep, we need bananas, yes, we need lunch meat, and like, so it's just all those normal things that sometimes we buy, sometimes we don't. And so it just helps me to remember everything, because a lot of times you go to the grocery store and then you come home and you're like, oh, we were out of ranch and I didn't know.
Yeah.
So
That's me.
seeing everything in the list and going through, okay, yeah, we need that, we need that, we need that, just helps me to make sure that I get everything that we need. It does take a little while, but I've always done the meal plan and the list. So then it's just plugging it into the app from there, which is still like, I can do it while I am making calls at work, or you know, whatever. Like, I can kind of multitask that, and I don't have to leave my house and go to the store and find it all myself. So making the list is with all the resources that I have, with the master grocery list and everything. It's just a matter of figuring out what we have and what we don't have.
So that's another one of those things where, okay, like it might be a little bit harder in the beginning and it might take a little bit more work, but once you've put the time into that and you've come up with a plan, then it becomes a lot easier as you go on. I like that. And that's smart to have the, you know, that you've made a Word document that has your master grocery list that you can kind of pull from and then put that into that. And then, using the grocery delivery, I know probably they save some of your grocery lists and stuff like that, so that can make it easier as well. Okay, so cleaning, grocery shopping, setting boundaries, me time, multitasking, and also that you have a special morning time with your kids, I think is really great that you do that, that you have that time. And I love the idea that you incorporate the question, what did you say? Though, what would you do, or what would you rather? That seems to be really fun, very popular for kids right now. My kids always come up and ask me the craziest questions with that. I'm like, neither one of these choices are good.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't want to pick either one of those. But I think that's nice, because they do enjoy those questions, and it does add a little bit of fun, and they get to have, it sounds like you've set a little bit of time aside where you're saying, okay, right now, like I had me time, and now this is your time, where we're also making you a priority. So you're also feeling valued in this time. So, you know, because it's easy for us to neglect our kids time wise, not in any other way, but time wise, you know, just to let them go watch TV or play video games or do whatever, because you're working and you're doing everything else, and not remembering that they still need that quality time with us. And so making a time for it to make sure that it gets in and it's not something that's forgotten. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of good advice. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with people, and I'm sure other people found it to be really valuable, because I know there's a lot of people that are stuck in a rut right now and are really overwhelmed with everything that's going on. If you guys want to follow Tracy, she is on Instagram as, is it Tracy
Tracy
Mom
Kulwicki.
Runner?
No, my main account is Tracy Kulwicki. It's just my name.
Okay.
I have Working Mom Runner, but I don't use that one very much. So.
Oh, okay. We'll see if
Tracy
that's what I
Kulwicki's the
just
active
tagged you
one.
on Instagram.
Oh no, that the Working Mom. Oh, on Instagram you tagged me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You would be like, what?
I like
And
to
then you
confuse
have
people.
your blog that you're working on becoming something else, but it's also still a blog that people could read. And you talk a lot about mindset, but you also give a lot of mindset tips in your Instagram stories and your Facebook stories on a daily basis for helping people to have, to really plug into a happiness perspective right now with everything that's going on. And that you do that through your current Facebook that I have you tagged in right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're Working Moms Balance. I don't know if you tagged that, but
I didn't. No, I just tagged this
okay.
one. So if you want to tag that in the comments, and then
Mm-hmm.
that way, you know, people can follow you and get more of your mindset tips.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's all like what I share is all advice and information on helping Christian working moms thrive and flourish. So just ways to improve your life in general. So with
yeah.
mindset and with finding purpose and meaning in life and being healthy and all those things. So
Yeah. She asked a lot of good questions. I got to have a nice phone call with you today where you asked a lot of good questions. I'm like, yes, okay, free advice.
well, that's my next class is I have to actually start doing life coaching. So
Oh, well, hey,
you might be my guinea pig.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Well, thanks so much. Have a good time hanging out with your hubs, and tell them thank you for letting me steal you for a little while.
I will. Thanks. It was really fun.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.